Hey author, how's your book coming along? It's been a while since I've been on the platform, but I have a video for you today. My idea for this video has been to catalog a lot of my experiences that I've had in the past 3 weeks, roughly, of finally being a postgraduate student in literature. Yes, I am doing literature. You would obviously know from my previous videos that I love writing and I love reading about writing, people's stories about writing, and stuff like that. So it would not surprise a lot of people that I'm now finally in that course. Why would I do such a course, you might ask? You're already a writer. In fact, one of my teachers did ask, why do you want to do this? Well, there's always scope to do better. There's always a chance that you may not know something. It'd be very arrogant for me or anyone else to think that they already know a lot. So that's why I've joined literature. Let me preface by talking about the differences between the sciences and the humanities, specifically literature. It is very dramatically different. And if you're an undergraduate student and you you accidentally come onto this video. Hi, I'm Sudhir. I'm a published author and I make these videos as a video log of me one day being traditionally published and best-selling author. That's my plan with these videos. I share things that I learn about literature and writing in all of my videos. Welcome if you're here for the first time. Now, if you are a returning viewer and you perhaps are wondering whether I should do a literature course, whether you should do a literature course or not, this is going to be a quick video to summarize that. Because as I've learned, this is not a rare occurrence. There are a lot of people from the sciences who have a basic education in the science picking up literature or English as their next line of education. I am one of those. So let's break down a couple of my experiences of the past 3 weeks that I've had being in a literature course. Firstly, I am right now in my university. I'm recording this video in the cafeteria of my university, which is St. Joseph's University. It's in Bangalore. It's a really old, really prestigious university, which was also where I did my undergraduate degree. Some of the things that I'll mention may apply to students in Bangalore. Like I've come to understand, sometimes the same course in different states of the country can be structured rather different. But this is something specifically for Bangalore, the points of this video. Then again, it's not very far apart, not dramatically different from a literature course in any of the states of India. So the first thing that I understood, or rather I learned to accept, learned to understand, is that the literature course is dramatically different from the science. A typical day in literature is massively different. It is not a difference of night and day. It is a difference of another galaxy. That's the best way I can describe it. Labs, there's a thing called labs in MA. Those are basically a lot more interactive classes. They are not like you wearing a white coat and taking a bunch of instruments to a secluded room somewhere in the campus and performing experiments. Mystical arts. This is not like that. The lab hours here are more interactive. They are intended to be more feedback oriented. You do a few tasks and the professor assigned for that lab hour will give you feedback. That's what the lab hours are. Now there are other aspects as well of a typical day in a literature student's life versus the equivalent level of course in, say, the sciences. It's really different. The first thing that you will perhaps be harshly reminded all of your time in university is that there is a tremendous amount of reading. It is really hectic. There's a ton of reading. I think when it comes to the sciences, a lot of us, like especially me, I have done a research paper in my undergraduate. Reading was more of textbooks, very specific textbooks, where the theories were not ideally very different from other textbooks. and what they taught in class. Sure, you could use a lot of reference books, but largely, if you were studying the structure of a liver, it's a basic fact. Different people will have different representations, if at all. The liver is the liver, or the study of fat. Fats are fats. They cannot be drastically different in different versions or different textbooks. I think largely it makes it a lot simple. On one hand, you know that it's almost binary. If you get it right, you get it right. If you don't get it right, you don't get it right. You can't make stuff up. Not that in the literature there's any measure of making stuff up. While the text is the same text, there can be hugely different variations of the text. There could be translations of the text, and we're talking about published books, canonical texts in the syllabus. These are texts which are given incredible importance because of how they represented the world at that time. They represented ideas of that time, and that is something which, again, there can be variations. Like, for example, if you're reading about modernist literature, which is what we're doing in this semester, there are so many views of points, especially because at this time the era was characterized by world wars, obviously, but also there were many people fighting in this war. And there were people from very different cultural backgrounds, very diverse settings, very diverse languages as well. You sort of have to sift through a lot of ideas to come up with something or an interpretation of an idea which makes sense today. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Especially, there's a subject called English Studies. The best way I can understand, or a friend of mine described it to me, was that a lot of Greek thinkers, like philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, they spent a lot of time scrutinizing plays of that time. And plays being a preferred mode of communication in centuries ago, they would have an idea of what is the perfect play. And in a sense, we're studying what those ideas are. That's what English Studies are. So anyway, I've been rambling on about each of my subjects. I don't think you'll have a lot of interest in that. If you do, I shall be posting more videos eventually through the course of these 2 years. You can catch up on those ideas later on. The approach to the syllabus and the syllabus itself is very different from the sciences. It's also reflective of the ideas of humanities. They're dependent on human individual ideas and not universalistic like the sciences are. That if the liver in Earth is so and so, it has this, it has that, then the liver on Venus is also going to be the same. That's the sort of approach we have in the sciences. At least that's what I knew of in the sciences. In the literature, it is not like that. For me, a liver can be someone else. The liver can be a representation of something else. Right at the top of my head, the liver can be an organ like the police. Emulsifies. The liver cleans up your blood. That's actually the kidneys as well. I am not in the sciences anymore. Anyway, so that's the first big difference that hit me. I mean, in my first week, I was panic-stricken because people were saying words I had no understanding of. People were saying phrases I had never heard of in my life. People were talking about ideas which were completely alien to me. And I think a lot of this panic precipitated into a quick bout of viral fever. It's always good for you, good for your system. Viral fever, it's an expression of your panic, psychosomatic, whatever. Again, I'm not in the sciences. I'm not going to describe things in a scientific approach. And that leads me to my second point. The second difference is the culture and the traditions of the sciences and the humanities. It's very different. There's a lot of emphasis on personal context, a lot of emphasis on identity of a person. Whereas in the sciences, you are beaten and trained to say A is A, 1 + 1 is 2. I know I'm using very bad analogies in this video. Some of them may not make sense to you, but those are just some of the differences I can think of right now. The culture of the students, the culture, and the manner in which the students, the professors, and how these ideas in the syllabus are approached are very different from the sciences. Especially because in the sciences, I have been used to sprinting from day one. You get ahead, or the competition gets ahead of you. Here, it's a lot more laid back. It's a lot more, let me sit back and evaluate what's going on. Okay, that seems to stick. I'll throw a couple of bowls of spaghetti on the wall. Again, I think my analogies need a lot of work. My metaphors need a lot of work because it's for the syllabus. This is unscripted, as far as you can tell. I think you would have already figured it out in the first few sentences that this is a video which is unscripted. And that's an idea I'm trying to try out in my making of YouTube videos. Make unscripted, on the spot videos, whatever you feel. To say the least, the jump from the sciences to the humanities was hugely dramatic. I felt like I was being hit by a bus. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I mean, after all, I am doing this course. I picked it by choice. I did expect being hit by an auto rickshaw, but not by a bus. Either way, it's something which is actually enjoyable. The panic, the thrill of being somewhere new, the thrill of meeting new people, discussing completely different ideologies, where my own ideologies and my own sense of who I am and what my morals are and what my values are being challenged. It's refreshing, and I think everyone should go through such a jump at least once in their life. It's not just being in a geographically different place. It's about being, because I've not gone to a geographically different place. I have gone from across one street to the other side of the street. I'm using the sciences and the humanities as a geographical place and as a metaphor, and me jumping from one continent to another. It's different, yes, but is it enjoyable? Also, yes. And do I look forward to this? Well, I haven't dropped out as yet, so I think I am going to continue. I do look forward to it. I think that's enough rambling for this video. Maybe in the next video, I'll try out a scripted video. Maybe unscripted videos are not a great idea. I definitely do need to work on my metaphors. That's it for this video. Keep writing. I'll see you guys in the next video.